Romans 10:14 says, how then shall they call on him in whom they have not believed? And how shall they believe in him of whom they have not heard? And how shall they hear without a preacher? It's time to take the truth to the streets with the power of the word from the Most High God to empower our communities, uplift our brothers and sisters, take control of our communities, businesses, banks, schools, security of the Most High God.
Greetings, my Israelite brothers and sisters, whether you're adopted, grafted, heirs, joint heirs, however you may come. I just want to say thank you all for tuning in. I have here with me Brother Benayah Israel. Am I saying that right?
Benayah.
Brother Benayah
Yep.
Israel. Let me tell you, this brother, I came across him because as a result of doing the Philadelphia Great Gathering Hebrew Conference, the facilitators there put me in contact with Brother Israel. So let me say Benayah, right? Benayah.
Benayah.
I got it, Brother Benayah. So Brother Benayah has done some research. He's got a YouTube channel, and it's Benayah Israel. That's Benayah Israel. So you all check him out. Check out his channel. You will be blessed from the channel. It's very educational, and we're going to get into that right now. So, Brother Benayah, where are you located at?
Shalom. Yeah, I'm located out of Atlanta.
Okay.
The deep south. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Been here for actually over 40 years. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you've done some great research. I came across your channel. When I came across your channel, the information that you have on your channel, let us know a little bit what you've done on your channel, especially dealing with some outside research pertaining to who are the people of the book.
Yeah, so my channel, I guess what sets my channel apart, but actually I do see other channels doing the same. More and more channels doing the same thing now too. But what I try to do in the channel is provide a lot of scholarly books to support the fact that the so-called African Americans are the true Israelites.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how most of the viewers or listeners have gotten into the Hebrew Israelite or heard of the Hebrew Israelites, but my on-ramp was YouTube and some of these other media outlets. And what I saw at the time was a lot of, there's a lot of, biblical support, but not a whole lot of scholastic report, as it has to do with, books and some of these other third-party eyewitness account type references. So on my channel, what I strive to do is to provide an overwhelming onslaught of references from firsthand accounts, people that were there, people that were actually dealing with the Jews and the Israelites firsthand. Like for instance, like the folks that partook in the Inquisition. They had no question as far as who the Israelites were. I mean, they were persecuting them. So I use a lot of those types of references to just to show people that, hey, these references say something different than what we've been taught growing up. They say that, hey, you so-called African Americans, you so-called blacks, you so-called people that were part of the transatlantic slave trade, you are, Yah's chosen people. You are the children of Israel.
One of the things that drew me to your site and to, apart from being led there, what made me stay there was that a lot of the Hebrew Israelite movement rarely use outside scholar sources. And And as a previous adjunct professor, I really appreciated the work. And one of the problems that we have is when we're dealing with family members and we come to them using the Bible as a platform, and we're using the books of the Bible as references to prove who we are. It's the platform. So we need, although we're using different books and references, and people have done a very good job, but the platform, because all of the sources are coming from one platform, that's the analogy that I'm using, it's good to have an outside platform, which is the scholastic books, which is what you have done a phenomenal job in doing. And so I can tell you a lot of the material that Brother Benayah put together, I'm going to incorporate and collaborate into the presentation when we do the Great Gathering Hebrew conferences. So when we take these conferences around throughout the United States, the research that he has done, and he's been so kind to share that information. In fact, I'm hoping, Brother Israel, that you will come and join me in one of these soon conferences and be able to put the presentation on.
Amen. Yeah, that's be one of my goals as well. Definitely probably won't be able to make it this go around, but Yah willing next year for sure.
Yes.
Do you want to help spread the word, help spread the truth of who we are, and kind of like you said, I ran into some of the same problems with family members, just trying to convince them, just out of the Bible alone, and
right.
Sometimes you run into well, that's your interpretation, or
correct.
I don't see it that way.
and that's the issue. So I have some people that I know that older than me, and when I talk to them about this, and they're I would consider them to be overseers to me as far as in the ministry. And one of the things they asked me, and they put me to the challenge, was do you have any scholastic proof? And so it really put me to the test. And so I really went into fasting and praying, and it was shortly thereafter I was introduced to you. And so let me just say, the scholastic information that you put together, how did you come across getting to that information?
Yeah, I don't know if you remember a guy by the name of Drawback Jacob, but he had some videos out there on YouTube where he put a lot of material out as to who the true children of Israel were.
Brother Yerushalayim.
Yes, Brother Yerushalayim.
I had the pleasure of meeting him and talking to him.
That's awesome, man. He actually helped wake up a lot of people, myself included.
Correct.
I was one of those ones that stumbled across his video, and then based off of his video, he kind of challenged me or encouraged me to go out and do additional research.
Okay.
So I actually here in Atlanta, we have a couple of different universities, but we have one of the good ones to as far as looking up old church / Israelite / Jewish or Jew research is Emory University. So I ended up getting a membership at Emory University's library, and spending some of my Friday afternoons, Saturday afternoons, or evenings, going to those types of libraries and looking up those rare books, because a lot of books that have truth in them as to who we are, they are hard to come by. I don't know if you had a chance to try to look at some of those books on Amazon or some of these storefronts, but they cost a pretty penny.
Brother Benayah, I saw one book, $58,000.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and that's how they, and that's, when I say they, the proverbial they, but that's how the truth is kept from mainstream. Is, these big price tags are placed on these books that have the truth in them, so that they never see the light of day. With the average person, because I think we said it before. Like, would the average person spend $58,000 on a book, or would they spend it on a car? So,
and that's the same analogy I told somebody. Are you gonna, if you had 58,000, you're gonna spend it on a book, or you gonna pay off bills? I mean, the book is the last thing, obviously.
Yes. Yeah. So, but and that actually helped me in my research. I mean, I started to see a pattern where a lot of the books that had a lot of good information in them, and these were books of first-hand accounts, and that's where I really kind of zero in on books that are first-hand accounts, people that were actually there, that were influential in dealing with it, the children of Israel during that time. But those types of books are the ones that cost thousands of dollars, and you can actually. What I started doing is I actually started looking for books that cost a lot of money. Like, I would go onto Amazon.com and I would, do a little simple search for Israelite or Jew or Black Jews or whatever. And when I got my result set back, I would sort it by price. And whichever books were the ones that were the most expensive, those would be the ones that I would try to find a digital copy of.
Okay.
Whether it be at archive.org or some of these other sites.
Correct. And let me just say this. And again, I thank you, because when I do the Great Gathering Hebrew Conference, 70% of the material and showing who are the people of the book is scholastic information. Because some of your books, you have up to about 25 to 50 resources and various components of what you have produced. And let me tell you, the pendulum changed. I switched the whole presentation to take it to scholastic, because if we're trying to wake up people, they want to see proof outside of the Bible.
Yep.
I think most people will accept the Bible that have been awakened by brothers like Brother Jerusalem, Drawback Jacob, or whatever the channel was. When a lot of people got awakened up, and I think I saw it back in 2016, and it woke me up. Because I've always had the feeling, I've always knew, I just did not have the biblical proof. I didn't go through the presentation of one of the projects that he put together was great, but and the inspiration was there. So segueing back into what you have done, it left that information conjectural in the minds of other Hebrewites or Hebrews who are not awakened. Whether they're Baptists, Methodists, whatever, they just don't see it. They don't see the significant value of it. And of course, when you go back and read the scriptures, once you've been awakened, you see the Bible totally different. You're reading it with a different set of eyes. It becomes personal because it was your fathers, your forefathers. It's you can understand the curses when you read it. So much more comes out. However, getting into awakening other people, they need outside sources, outside references.
Yeah, and just to add to what you said too, one of the things I saw that used to frustrate me when I would go on like YouTube and some of these other places, and I would see people putting out the truth. I mean, they would be using the Bible and saying, "Hey, look at these verses. There could be no other people but us," and all this other stuff. and you would always get those naysayers on there. I mean, whether they be members of our Sunday church, or whether it be I'm trying to think of the name, the Kemet groups, like the Egyptologist guys, and you would always see them, commenting on the boards, as naysayers. But what I found was that when I started, using these scholastic materials in videos, I didn't get those types of comments on my videos. Like, I didn't get the comments that, hey, this couldn't be it, or
absolutely.
And it's because they can't argue with these references.
Absolutely.
Like, you can't argue with a person that was there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I looked at your comments. There is nothing. You cannot, once you come with scholastic information from people who were actually there, that is what makes it where a person would just say, wow. And I want to get into that a little bit, because I want to let you all know that's going to be coming to any of the Great Gathering Hebrew conferences. I'm going to be showing you books. I'm going to be showing you the authenticity of those books, who the authors were, who they were writing to. And these books, Brother Benayah, is not Christian books. These are books that went to the kings. These are books that went to the Catholic Church. These books are very relevant to the Spanish Inquisition. It's the notes that people who were involved, it's the notations that they made is what makes this phenomenal. And so once you read it, it's like, wow. And these books, one of the books is in the California University Library. One of them is also in the Michigan State Library. And when I saw that, and I'm looking, and I'm like, who the book was written to, it just really, man, some of the material that I read brought tears to my eyes. Yeah, it really did. So I want to go back to the research and to these books, and some of these references. Who are the authors, and who was it written to? I'm gonna give it in the presentation, but just to share with those that are listening to this program, who were the authors and who were they writing to?
Yeah, a few of the references that stand out. One of them would be, of course, John Ogilvy, and he was a cosmographer and a geographic printer of King. I believe it was King Charles. So he was, I kind of consider him a head of state. He was someone that was that had the ear of the king of the time, right? So he was a good reference to use because, he had an official position. He was next to someone who had a seat of authority. And I don't know if you had a chance to read his intro, like within his intro, literally you can see where he's kind of writing this body of work to the king, and he
absolutely
to the authenticity of it and the accuracy of it.
Yes.
I mean, if you can imagine, writing something to the king or to the president of the United States, right? You want to make sure that this thing, is buttoned up, that it's a good body of work, and that's what he writes in his intro.
It's an official document. It's an official notation that he's given to the king. That's what is there, and it's documented. It's recorded.
Yeah, and so he's one of the ones that I like using because you really people can't really debate his references. You don't really. I have yet to see anyone contest the authenticity of his reference. And in fact, you mentioned that the book is found in these different places.
Right.
Well, one of the places that I found this book repeatedly, like when I would go into the library, like the website to see which libraries it's located in.
Right.
I repeatedly saw this book in seminary libraries.
Okay.
And that's what took me back. I saw this in seminary libraries. Like even here in the state of Georgia, I believe this book is in at least one or two seminary libraries, in addition to, like you said, the university libraries. So that told me one thing, that, hey, these guys, someone knows. I can't be the only one that's read this book and knows that this thing has some really interesting things to say about who the actual children of Israel are.
Absolutely. And that's why the price tag is so high, because nobody's denying, nobody's trying to hide the material. They just made it impossible for the average African American, those coming to the transatlantic slave trade, to even want to look at or spend the money on. So they're not hiding it. It's there. It's just, if you want it, it's going to cost.
Yeah. And you got to figure, I mean, even like I forget who I was talking to, but somebody mentioned that, just looking at the name of the book, it wouldn't be a book that you would pick up. You know what I mean? It wouldn't be like your everyday book that you would want to read just for leisure, it's just one of those people call it a dry book. It's one of those dry books that just has a whole bunch of words in it.
Right.
It does have pictures in it. I will say it does have pictures. That actually has pictures of the actual Indians that they ran into in the Americas, and they were black.
Right.
But yeah, and it's just one of those books that even if the book was priced so that you could get it, that I don't think it would still get into mainstream, because it's just not one of those books that catches people's eyes when they're looking for books to read.
It looks like a history book. And it's like the standard traditional stuff that you see it can be boring, it can be dry, unless you know exactly what you're looking for. And you really, because John Ogilvy is not writing specifically on the black Jews or the black Israelites, because he's not specifically, that's not what the book is about. But in his writing, he mentions it. So that's what makes the book dry. We're not the subject of conversation. However, he documents and notes who we are, the black Jews, and that's what makes it interesting. You really have to know what you're looking for, and it's hidden. It's hidden in plain sight, but it's there. Is what I found.
And that, I was going to say, the interesting thing about that too, because John Ogilvy, he authored more than one book.
Correct.
Like, one was like Africa, being an accurate description of Africa. It's like a super long name.
Correct.
But then he also had one out there called America. So America, being an accurate description of America, super long name. But oddly enough, a publisher picked up that book and started selling it on Amazon for like $9.
Wow.
So, and I just so happened, I was on Amazon, I was looking, shopping or whatever, and I saw, this book pop up. I was like, oh, wait a minute. I'd love to have a copy of this book. So I jump on there and I order it from Amazon, and I'm waiting, and finally the book comes, and I open the book up, and I knew exactly which pages I wanted to go to.
Okay.
So on that page I wanted to go to 574. So I flipped through the page to 574, and half the page was blank.
Wow.
Like the part that talked about who Israel was and stuff like that, the publisher deleted it.
Wow.
And even when you go on Amazon and if you look at the comments of people who purchased the book, because I do that too.
Yeah, right.
You'll see they say the same thing. They say, oh, this is they gave it like 1 star because there's a lot of information deleted from this book, and a lot of people were saying that it was done on purpose. But
absolutely.
Yeah.
But you were able to get or review an electronic version that was able to show you what the purchase copy had taken out.
Yep.
So what did it do? The page was just blank. It was faded. What was it?
No, it was blank. Like it would. You know how sometimes when you're photocopying a sheet of paper.
Yes.
And if it photocopies and it goes to a certain point, and then afterwards it's just a blank page.
Correct.
That's how the pages look.
Okay.
Like, you would have whole sections that's blanked out, and then then the text would continue, below it or above it. And I actually used that to my benefit because I looked at that and said, well, it looks as though someone is trying to hide something. So what I did was, like you said, I had the full copy of the book.
Okay.
But then I had the other copy that I ordered from Amazon that had pages blanked out. So then what I did was that I started flipping through the pages of the one that I ordered from Amazon that had the pages blanked out. And wherever it was blanked out, I would go over to my digital copy that didn't have it blanked out to see what they blanked out.
Right.
What section they tried to cover up. And I discovered that they blanked it out for a reason.
Correct.
And that's one of the things I wanted to review on the next video to come. Is there's some things that were blanked out on the copy that you can get today from Amazon.
Okay.
That will shock you. I mean, it'll. I mean, when you read it, it'll. I was talking to my mom about it, and she's a staunch Christian, and she said that that may shake people's faith. Once if that comes out and people
right.
Know about it. So it'll be interesting. I'm curious to see what the reception would be on the next video.
Speaking of the next video, and let me just say this, those that are tuned in, a lot of the material that Brother Benayah Israel is talking about, the outside sources that specifically identify who the people of the book are. They were writing official documents to the kings. These books are in 14, 15, 1600s. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this is the material that I'm going to be bringing when I do these conferences, when we do the presentation, along with the Bible. 70% of the material would be outside sources. 30% would be from the Bible that would just sort of put the icing on the cake. You have a new project coming up. It's the transatlantic slave trade, quote, Christian slave. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, and I'm sure someone listening to that would say, well, there's been a million transatlantic slave trade videos. you know what I mean? We've heard that story over and over again, many times. But the difference is, and what it's kind of a byproduct of the resources and these references. The difference is, what I discovered was that people don't realize that the transatlantic slave trade occurred at the same time that the Inquisition occurred.
Correct.
Same start time, same end time.
Okay.
And the reason, and it was by the same people. So you had Spain, you had Portugal, you had all these other countries. But they were all of them were dealing with their Jews at home at the same time that they were discovering the New World and shipping slaves and stuff over to the New World. And what we found out was that they are part of the same event. Like when we look at it from a historical perspective, historians will, for better or for worse, they'll keep them separate. Like they'll mention the Inquisition in one breath, but in a second breath they'll talk about the transatlantic slave trade.
Correct.
As if they were, two separate things, but they are actually the same thing.
Okay.
So, so part of this video is putting that all back together. I do have to spend some time building up the background leading into this transatlantic slave trade, because that's another thing that.
Okay.
That's another thing where when I learned about the transatlantic slave trade, there wasn't a whole lot of time spent on the period like just before the transatlantic slave trade started.
Okay.
It normally just starts like right into when the Portuguese and the French started shipping slaves over.
Okay.
So that's key too, because there's some interesting things in there that I think people will be shocked to learn in this next video.
Okay.
So hopefully within the next week or two, I've gotten most of it done. Well, I'm in the editing, the shooting, and the editing phase. So hopefully, my hope is that it'll be out within a week or two.
Okay. And again, your channel is, give it to us again.
It's on YouTube, so it's Benayah Israel. So if you're
And
looking,
that's
Benayah,
Benayah Israel.
Mm-hmm. And there's a website too. If you have, just go to https://Benayah 4, the number 4.
Okay.
Israel.org.
Okay, Benayah 4
Israel.org.
Okay, great.
And you can get the information from either the website or the YouTube page.
Okay, and those that are tuning in, you will see that a link to that website on this channel for this program. My brother, it's been great. We're going to come back and do this again, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this. I want to thank you all for tuning into this channel. Stay tuned because we have the Great Gathering Hebrew Conference is going around. We're taking this around the United States. We're going to be in Philadelphia October the 19th and the 20th of this year, 2018. I don't want to announce the second location because I want to promote this location. Come to the city of brotherly love. That's October the 19th and the 20th. Brother Benayah Israel, thank you so much. And thank you for just making this conference be what it's going to be. So thank you very much. You all stay tuned. And thank you for tuning into this channel. And we'll talk soon.
Thank you.